This is the Environmental Protection Commission regular meeting, Wednesday, February 7, 2024. I'm going to use the chairman's prerogative to move EPC 35-2023, Zero Great Island Road, that item to first on the agenda. I need a motion.
I'm happy to make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to move EPC number 35-2023 to the first agenda on tonight's meeting.
And I will second that.
Okay, the item is to construct a paved accessway, walkways, drainage walls, and other related features in regulated areas proximate to Gorham's Pond. The property lies along the east side of Goodwise River Road across from its intersection with Rings End Road and is identified as map 58, lot number 1-AA, in parentheses, AKA parcel 23A. The zone is R1 and is approximately 1.6125 acres. Reference is further made to filed map number 5450 DLR. We have a resolution in front of us for the commission. I believe all the commissioners have received it. I'm sure you caught your edits in there, Jim.
I did have a couple I sent them to Rick.
Yep. And then
Okay.
they've been incorporated.
Any questions or comments? No? Okay, Jim, I have a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to, we approve the permit to conduct regulated activities on this commission, Environmental Protection Commission, of EPC number 35-2023.
I will second that.
Good job. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, getting back to our new business. You're all set. Getting back to our new business, EPC-01-2024, 20 Marianne Road, N. De Silva, to demolish an existing structure and construct a new family residence drive, drainage, subsurface sewage disposal system, and other related features proximate to the wetlands and watercourses. The property lies along the north side of Marianne Road, approximately 1,115 feet east of Brookside, and is identified as map number 1, lot number 91. The zone is R2, and it is approximately 1.19 acres.
So Chairman, this application is before us this evening as the first order of business in order to establish or acknowledge receipt and to establish if a public hearing is warranted on this particular application. Is for a new single-family dwelling, demolition of existing single-family, new single-family proximate to wetlands and watercourses. If you have any preliminary comments that we can incorporate into a letter requesting additional information. I've been to the site, some additional items that have to be addressed at this point. I can report that in the past, we've had interest from the abutters on what was going to occur on the property. This particular application, or this particular proposal, or some rendition of the proposal had been before the ZBA, and it has in fact provoked some interest from the abutters. But I've also received personal correspondence. Just want to keep people in the loop as to what occurs here.
Okay, so I guess let's go around the room and say, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to look into, and I'd like your opinion as to whether we should have a public hearing. Carolyn, you want to start?
Well, could we clarify whether or not there's a pool as part of this project? Because in the approval from ZBA, it mentioned a 2.5-story house with a deck and pool, but then in the document that we have, it doesn't mention a pool, so I was just wondering if that's part and parcel of it. I also wondered if they could, a lot of the documents are, they're either missing, there's some documents that are in there multiple times. It would be nice if we could get the documents in the right place. And also, if we could get some things like a soil report, which, they use, I think, some kind of online soil report, which I think they should have something from a Connecticut licensed soil scientist. Just for the record, if we could correct the size of the lot, because they had in the document that it was .189 acres, and I don't think that's accurate. I asked about the pool. And also I noticed that there was a wetland flag that's near, it's near the road on the west side of the property, I think. But when you look at the documents,
There's nothing there.
there's nothing there. So we really need to have a soil
Well,
survey.
So, for the record, on Mary Lane, there's no pool that's being proposed.
Okay,
You're absolutely correct in the organization, that was one of the things we were asking for. There is a soils report that was done by a soil scientist as part of a prior preparation of the survey. I don't believe that was a, well, in fact, I think it was property boundary staking.
the
It was
orange flag?
The orange flags were staking the property boundaries.
Oh,
The pink flags were the actual wetland
okay.
register flags.
It
But
was a little confusing.
we will be going through it and making sure those are all good points, and we'll make sure that they address it.
Okay. Yeah, and just, they had mentioned a planting plan, but then I didn't, and, and there's nothing, no mention of tree removal, planting plan. Of course, I'd like to be, see that. So
Absolutely.
that's what I have.
I also noticed that it looked like some trees there were recently cut down as
Mhm.
well. Maybe we could get a little bit more information around that.
Yep, I had that.
Okay, that was all I have.
With Rick's initial comments that there are abutting neighbors who may pass additional commentary, I'd like to kind of hold off on any thoughts I have. I actually was by there today. This is very near to our home, and I did a drive-by, not a walk-around. And once we have the comments of the adjoining neighbors, and then I think I'd be better informed to comment further.
It's a great piece of land in the back. When you walk back there,
Yeah.
you could look, never
Yeah.
see a fence
Yeah.
on that whole line. So the neighbors also have not putting
Yeah.
fences up, so it's a beautiful
It's beautiful.
wetland woodland
Yeah.
combination back there. And it goes, I couldn't see a fence on either side. Of course, across the way, everybody had a fence, but
Yeah.
all the way down, like, it was great. But with 39% of it wet, and they're putting a house there, and it looks like a 9-foot basement, I don't know. Are we pushing now that every time there's any kind of sump pump activity, we're making sure that goes into Coltex? Because it should.
No,
We should start.
that's one of
doing
my
that.
hot buttons.
Yeah, we need to
Okay.
start doing that, because
Definitely.
there's a perfect example. That thing's gonna be running all the time, and then pushing.
Well, no, we have to,
Needs to go into at least some way to do it. What was the other thing we had here? Planning plan, you mentioned that. And I saw that .19.
Yeah,
0.19,
that's
so-
not right.
And they should stake that house, where that's gonna be in the back. It's, it's a little confusing. We already have a nice wetland delineation back there, but they should stake where the house is gonna go.
Yep.
They're talking about a minimal, actually, I almost said it's gonna be the same kind of footprint, and yet it's gonna be a 6,200 square foot house. So, if they could put some stakes back there to show that, that'd be great, the outer dimension of the development.
Okay.
That's mine. And I agree, we should have a public hearing.
Okay.
I concur regarding a public hearing, and I don't have any additional comments at this point.
Right, I'd like to add, I think the application is a little confusing, okay? I mean, they present a 71-page drainage survey, okay? For a one-family house. That's pretty amazing, and I wonder, I looked through it and I was like, very elegant, very lots of colors and things like that, but I went to the relevancy, because I didn't see any test holes, any perk test holes. I have major questions as to a 9-foot basement. Some pumps are gonna go crazy unless they make it a bathtub. I'm not, I personally am not going to, I'm gonna take an aggressive stance towards that. Because they say, so the test holes. Also, I didn't see a survey I saw a survey with the old house. I didn't see a survey with the new house. Okay, where it plants, or even the new house superimposed over the old house. So I'd like to see that. There's I didn't see anything, you know, I saw where the wetlands were staked, but I didn't see anything where the new house would go. And so, it's hard for me to judge, you know, if, you know, trying to take the survey, look at it, and, you know, you use my, you know, best judgment, which is questionable, as to where the house is going. So, I think they have to look at the application process and just work it more, okay? Make sure we get the information that we need, whether it be the soil science, and I too think it should be a public hearing. So, do we have to take a vote on the public hearing, Rick, or we could just,
No, just say.
okay, because I think there's, as you said, there's no public interest. Is there anybody else who would like to comment on this one? Arnett?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of what you just said regarding organization of documents. I think it's funny is this application wouldn't meet the standard of Dave Keating. He would take a look at this, just specifically with the, just knowing Dave for all these years. He would look at the engineering report, the detailed surface erosion control plan, and he would see that what is supposed to look like a site plan is an exhibit in the top left corner, this big, and it should be a 2x3 format, so so this could be eligible. So I think we should see a proper site plan, a proper erosion control plan, a proper existing condition survey, a proposed survey, at a minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was paper in there, but it wasn't meant, I think it was meant to confuse us.
Yeah.
I would just say, hey, it's sort of, you know, when you wrote a college paper, you said there's already 10 pages of something when I only had to do 5. Hopefully the professor won't read the rest. So, anyway.
Oh, and I think maybe a better point is, because this isn't the first time we've had this conversation, and I don't know what the regulations are, but, you know, our staff is incredibly busy. So it's understandable that applicants upload documentation, and it has an engineering stamp, so that procedurally the town has to review these documents. And I don't know if if applicant says, well, I'm happy with what I submitted, so bring me to the commission, right? I mean, do we just take this isn't the first time we've had this conversation, do we take the stance of saying, application declined, documentation not acceptable? Come back when you have acceptable documentation? It just seems like, a lot of effort goes on your part to get an application to here, and then we complain that the application documentation isn't complete.
Or in order.
I mean, this is, right, I mean, this is a preparatory conversation for a potential public hearing and an actual presentation. And I think we've all kind of said the cart's in front of the horse, so I don't know what to do about that going forward.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ready for a public hearing because at this point in time, I declined it as incomplete.
But you know, somebody sends an application basically on a napkin, you have to initiate the process. And that's why we've added the extra step that I've all done for all these years is now I sit here and I go through that and say, this is all the information we need, you have such and such a date in which to supply it. So we're kind of crafting an application that's suitable for the commission to review.
Yep.
But, you know, again, it's the, you know, again, if it comes in as that, basically he's told on a napkin, you know, it's.
That's allowed.
The plan is, that they have the prerogative to do
Sounds
that.
like, yeah, okay.
So it
that's
starts the
addressing-
process.
All we're doing is starting the process tonight, and we're gonna come up with a list of very detailed information. It's very funny, because I'm really getting to know you over the past 2.5 years, because all my notes from here today were exactly mimic what you had. All of you. And that'll be put in the format of a letter, and then outline the necessity of a
Set
public
it up.
hearing, and then we'll go from there. We'll set the hearing for probably sometime in March.
Okay.
At least in
One more
time.
thing to add to that, you guys are starting to talk about is that when they build a new house, they want to push that lawn as close as they can. And so we ought to really try to stop it now before they start thinking about that lawn right up to that.
Yep.
you got a bad piece of property, or you're getting a big house on it, you got a big septic system for that big house.
And they got
And you got
ZBA approval.
39% wetlands.
Yeah.
You know, you got, something's gotta give, and the lawn is probably the part that's gonna have to give.
Yep.
Sorry, Rick, what's the statutory regulation to approve an application once it's submitted?
Excuse me?
90 day, what's the statutory regulation for days to approve or decline an
The 60
applicant's?
it generally is with a regular application,
65.
65 days, extendable up to 130 days. And then there's a different set of rules about when you start a public hearing. But generally, the 65, 130 is the,
So the clock officially started ticking once the application was
today,
submitted?
because we're
Acceptance.
marking the
This is the
acceptance.
acceptance.
Goes to the public hearing, and then there's a certain time, statute says you have to hold a public hearing, I think it's within 65 days of the start,
Right.
the mark of this, you have to hold that, and then you have, again, there's a certain amount of time after that, which to conclude the public hearing and to render a decision.
Right.
But it's not, unlike PNC, where they have 65 days they have to do, we can extend it, okay?
Just once.
And if it goes beyond that, okay, they have the option of always going to Hartford to approve it. And if that gets heard in a year, they're lucky. So it's sort of like, the alternative to us is, is a long approval process. So that's why it's not an automatic approval, which is the case of PNC.
Right, so my point that I was gonna get to is that it doesn't behoove the applicant to submit incomplete documentation because they risk the application being declined. Anyway,
No, they don't, but but it also is our perspective on things. You know, if someone comes in, and we've had applications that have been perfect, they come in here and you just go, they get it, they addressed our issues, and they're off and running. You retain a positive attitude towards that application because it came in and they understood what we wanted. This application very clearly didn't. Okay, so, we start off with their input and you go, do I have an open mind? Yes, I do. But now I'm doubly aware of what's missing and what else haven't you shown me, and you go through this. And so they basically poisoned the well a little bit, if you will.
right.
So, I just have one other thing, a thought. Maybe we should be, just, have a motion as to the necessity of a public hearing, because you have to state what you think the reason why. Is it just solely for public interest, or you think there's a potential for a significant adverse impact? Because it makes the test different for the determination if an application is approvable or not.
Well, my personal opinion is there is, as you suggested, public interest. But given that 39% of the lot is wetlands, and they want to push it, okay, like that, yes, there is potentially significant, significant impact to the wetlands and water courses in the area. Okay, and when they start pushing water around, it's gonna hit the neighbors, okay, because that's, it's, at the end of Marianne Road, it goes down to West Norwalk Road, but the rest of the neighbors around them it's reasonably flat, so I would think it would almost be both cases. But I don't know. The rest of the commission-
Yeah, I think it's both too.
Let's make a motion, and if you think it's both, say both. and then
Okay.
we should.
Jim, may I have a motion to have a public hearing
Yes.
that states that it's in the public interest as well as this could create significant impact to the wetlands and water courses?
Yes, happy to make a motion regarding EPC application 01-2024, that we examine it further in the course of a public hearing and get fully comfortable that the application itself and all necessary documentation is updated and fresh.
Okay. Second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Rick, Anybody else on this topic or move on? Move on. EPC 02-2024, 12 Libby Lane, J. Dolce and J. Dolce, to remove, alter vegetation, grade, install drainage, landscape, and implement other related activities in the park to wetlands and water courses. The property lies along the west side of Libby Lane, approximately 450 feet north of Middlesex Road, and is identified as map number 9, lot number 54. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 1.01 acres.
Mr. Chairman, your description is accurate as to what the application is here. The application has made its way to the agenda this evening to mark the start of the statutory time, to acknowledge receipt, start the statutory time clock, and to ascertain if a public hearing would be needed on this application. I've been to the site and will be generating a list of information needed to move forward. And I welcome your preliminary comments that I can include in some correspondence to the applicant and have them address it in advance of our next meeting on this application.
Mike, you want to go first?
Yeah, I actually don't have any comments regarding this application.
This is one where I need an actual blueprint. It's too dang busy for me. I was out there today and I just got spinning, so
I would agree with that.
I'm gonna need a full-size one on this one to understand it better, to help me. And then when I read his narrative, it just seemed like we were trying to figure out how to push water off this property and get it out. And, you know, it's going into Stony Brook eventually, and a big rain. Stony Brook is a major flooder, and it's not far from it. So I just got that sense reading the narrative that how do we get this water off this property? And instead of, it's a wetland,
Or at
let's
least
try to some other methods. And
yeah.
So I walked away troubled about that, and I think they've mentioned something about a sump pump from another higher property, which is probably, there's sump pumps probably going onto that property, but, you know, it's a low spot. There's a neighbor involvement here too. I'm having, this one might need the same issue as the last one.
This one is, I've been to the site, and it's a relatively new property owner. They have done some work to the home, all fully permitted. They do have drainage issues around the property. The biggest one being is that the existing pipe is crushed under their driveway.
Okay.
So that's the reason for the replacement of the pipe. And it will assist in the transmission of stormwater from their property and the abutters' property. That's where they raise the thing with the adjoining sump pump. They are also dealing with stormwater that comes off the street that impacts parts of the property.
Okay.
So what they're doing is an overall drainage management plan to try to improve their driveway drainage around the home. And by the same token, they are coming up with measures to develop buffers around the edges of the stream and of the wetlands themselves. So the trade-off is going to be creating a little more space around the properties that is positively drained,
Right.
to allow them to use the property, to use their driveway, to have a plowable space around the edge for
Okay.
snow, and then they're coming up with a ELS plan that is for an environmental enhancement. So,
The only concerns I have is we're trying to slow water down, right? And in this case, they do have issues, right? But now they're gonna speed up that water getting off their property into the next watershed release. So I understand they have a problem. There's no way they can slow this and over time let some of that water go instead of, now they're gonna maximize it faster. And that's always this problem, this flooding issue.
It wouldn't be as much of a problem if the neighbors, I don't know if it's a footing drain or a sump pump, but it seems to be running constantly, constantly.
But I don't know, can you go back to them and tell them to put it back into their own cul-de-sac? Probably not. But I don't know, that's my.
Well, certainly neighbor
I'm just
to
wondering.
neighbor, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go over there, you know, talk to the neighbor and say, hey, you're pushing water on my property. And then, you know, there's,
Yeah.
but,
Good
you
luck
know,
with that.
well, no, you also have, you know, I mean, you can go after your neighbor too.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know, legally you're pushing a whole lot of water on my property and you're not allowed to do that. And, you know, so, but then you get in, you won't be friends with that neighbor for a long time.
Right.
So,
And it's a lot of water.
it's, well, that whole,
Yeah.
you know, eastern section of Holly Lane.
Yeah, they dug that out. You're
Is a
just
mess.
Put another building lot in there.
Yeah,
It's that big, deep channel, that was dug out.
Yep.
Just to get another building lot here and there.
To try to drain and create some dry space. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Lauren?
Yeah, I think it looks like there's a lot of, like, there, wetlands, right, everywhere, and I wasn't clear when I was out there, kind of, where things were, so I think that was an issue as well. So, yeah, I'll look forward to seeing that. And then there was no planting plan either. I didn't see one.
Yeah,
Did I miss something?
There is a, yep, there's a
Okay.
planting plan.
I have to go back and review that one. Okay. That's it from me.
They're taking out the 48-inch red maple tree because they need to redo that pipe with an HD, an HDPE pipe, the 12-inch pipe. Do they really have to take the tree out to do that? I mean, how did they get it in? I mean, I assume it's because of the roots, but how did they get it in the first place? The first one. It's not,
I'm sure when they just constructed the house.
yeah.
They can make a bend and turn around.
Yeah, but I mean, the house, the tree's been there a lot longer than the house, so presumably it was there when they did
Well,
it,
we can
so.
have them address it if there's any alternative to it.
Yeah, I mean, is there an alternative to removing a 48-inch tree? And also, I know that a lot of the trees that are being removed are outside of the upland review area, but on a property that has such issues with water, wouldn't it be an asset to have trees there? I mean, to help, to help soak the water up. I know they're cutting one down that's dead, and they're taking out the one where they want to put in they want to run the culvert. I do like some of the things that they're doing, like the boulder demarcation, though I didn't see a planting plan, but they did mention putting in native plants and removing the euonymus and some of the debris that's in the back there. I just wondered if, it sounds like maybe the 11 trees that are outside of the upland review area are being taken out so that they can establish a lawn. And I'm just wondering if maybe it would be more to their advantage to keep the trees, than putting in a lawn. That's all I have.
Okay. Is the tree in the wetland review area, the upland review area?
It's in the wetlands.
Yeah, it's all.
So just to share real quick, is the permanent roots of a tree,
Mm-hmm.
there's, I know you know this, right? There's the permanent roots of the tree, and they're towards the surface because that's what feeds the tree, right? What's underneath are like little feeder roots.
Right.
So if you have a broken pipe that's going through the area of the tree, there's actually, this is how my neighbor actually has a 1950s Cape, and they just recently had the septic line break. And what they can do is there's a term for it, which I don't recall, but it's called pipe bursting. Is they take the new pipe and they put it at the house, right? And they have a chain and they literally hydraulically pull the new piping through the old piping.
Ah, so then they wouldn't have to break through all those roots.
And with a
To
big
dig
tree,
the
right,
channel.
and then in addition,
That's good to know.
maybe not so much in Darien, Connecticut, or Fairfield County, Connecticut, but a lot of people have ornamental trees that are like this, and they want to resurrect them. And there's people that come out with the air spade, and they blow the soil out of the root system so they can treat the roots. So similarly, if this tree is important to us or to the wetland, there's means to get a pipe under,
Okay.
through, around the tree.
Yeah, I mean, this house was, I think it might have said when it was built, 1950 maybe, or 1950 something. That tree was there when they put that first pipe
Or
in.
maybe the engineer could come up with, that's why we hire engineers, maybe the engineer can come up, Rick, or maybe the
Well, there's a
engineer.
reasonable and prudent alternative.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like
let's
that.
explore those.
We don't have to kill the tree to move
Yeah,
it to
Okay.
the
okay,
lake.
they have to come up with some reasonable prudent alternatives to, and Mike has two good suggestions.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Anybody else on this application?
Okay, moving on, EPC 03-2024, 62 St. Nicholas Road, J Grills and T Grills to demolish an existing attached garage and construct a new pool house, drainage, and other related features proximate to the wetlands. The property lies along the south side of St. Nicholas Road, approximately 1,900 feet west of Mansfield Avenue, and is identified as map number 06, lot number 88. The zone is R2 and is approximately 2.02 acres.
Mr. Chairman, you've described the application is to demolish an existing accessory structure and build a new accessory structure on the property that is further from the wetlands but still remains within the upland review area. Application has made its way to the agenda this evening, again, to start the statutory time clock and to make a determination as to the necessity of a public hearing on the matter and to solicit some of your preliminary comments. I've been to the site, we'll have some comments, and we'll be generating a list of information needed to move forward with the application.
Michael, you want to start us off?
I'll stand by at the moment. I'm not familiar with this application.
It's got some steep grade going down the hill from their house down to the wetland area. So it's gonna have some good sheet flow action there, and it'd be nice if they could have some kind of berm system or reduction of lawn to help the environment. That's my only comment.
Jim?
I guess I've spent too much time on St. Nicholas Road. I know where this home is, and I didn't see any, impeding issues to eventually, approving this article.
Okay. Lauren?
So they're planning on installing a retaining wall in front of the fence. I don't know if you can kind of picture, when I was out there, like, is the fence where the wetlands start, or is it in?
It's in the wetlands, yeah.
So
The deer
they're-
fence?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just trying to understand if this, retaining wall is going to be in the wetlands or in front of the wetlands? Like,
There is no retaining wall. The only retaining wall is at the very front of the new building, but it's to sustain the grade very close to the pool.
Okay, so maybe it's an old map that says proposed retaining wall that I'm looking at. See, it says proposed retaining wall.
Mm-hmm,
Is this,
yeah, near the pool house. Yeah, there's like that big kind of a hill next to the pool, which looks like it was probably constructed when the pool was built, right? They
Or
took
when the house was built, because there's drainage that exists in there now. They are moving part of the drainage system, and they are adding drainage. So a lot of that is to sustain the pool and the drainage that was associated with both features, the house and the pool. So what they're doing is demolishing the existing garage,
Mhm.
and then they're gonna be sliding this up to it and basically having walkout out of this pool house at the back
Mhm.
and using the front of the grade for the first floor. So it's built into essentially the hillside.
Yeah, the pool house is kind of, looks like it's built into the hill a little bit.
Right.
okay. Yeah, that was the only part that I needed some clarity around. I think I got it now. Because the existing fence isn't, it doesn't, have the space at the bottom and it doesn't need all the,
Well, you talking about the deer fence?
yeah.
No, the deer fence actually, and I do a little bit of research, actually encroaches within the wetland. This
Yeah.
portion of
Yeah, it
wetland,
does. Uh-huh.
this portion of the wetland is lawn grass. If you were out there,
Mhm.
today, it's actually a good day to go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can, talk about the potential for some plantings out there.
Or relocating the fence.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
that. That's it.
I was gonna ask if this if there had been any prior EPC approval on any of the work done here, like the deer fence clearly is in the wetlands. Was that approved by this commission? And also when they did the pool, I mean, there's a lot of work that's been done on the house since 2014, because when you look at the original soil scientist report, the driveway still goes to the old garage, and now that's been removed and the driveway's on the east side of the house. So that's all out of the upland review area, but when they built the pool, the fill that they took out of the pool, that looks like they created the hill, that is in the upland review area. So did that come before this commission?
That's what I'm looking to see.
Right, they, oh, Lauren, you should like this, in the maintenance plan, they use shall rather than should.
Oh, no, I didn't see that, I would've called it out.
Right, and then my other question is, just because I don't know if this makes any difference or not, but they currently have Coltex underground detention, and for the the existing system uses Coltex, but the proposed are concrete galleries. And I'm just wondering why? Like, I mean, is there any rhyme or reason to why they're choosing to use those instead
I
of
mean,
the others?
It all depends on, they can use anything that they like. Coltex are plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Coltex are easier to use sometimes to install. The concrete galleries, it gives more, it depends on the size of it, and more capacity, and it's the engineer's choice in what they use.
Okay. I was just
So-
wondering, because, they have, the Coltex were existing, and then I agree with Lauren, I think that, the lawn goes right to the deer fence, and, it looks like a pretty well manicured lawn. I think there should be some kind of wetland buffer there.
Are the galleys located under the driveway? That might be the reason.
Why they're using concrete instead of the,
Well, if you ever had to, in my opinion, if you ever chose to have stormwater retention or detention on your property, I would opt for a concrete galley over a piece of plastic. I think they perform better.
And the answer is no, it's in the hillside, but that's their choice and what they want to use.
They're more expensive, more difficult to install.
yeah.
So the engineer probably has a reason for it.
Anybody else on this application? Okay, moving on. EPC 04-2024, 5 Meadow Road, H. Boyle and H. Boyle to construct a residential addition, patio drainage, and related features proximate to the wetlands, watercourses, and special flood hazard areas. The property lies along the east side of Meadow Road, approximately 500 feet north of Old Farm Road, and is identified as map number 65, lot number 26. The zone is R1 and is approximately 1.679 acres. Carolyn, you want to start us off?
It looks like most of the activity, like the addition that they did and so forth, is outside of the upland review area, so we don't have to consider that. It looks like all they're really doing in the upland review area are the Coltex, the level spreader, and the patio.
So they had a phased permit, so back in November,
Okay.
they did work and obtained building permits for work outside of regulated areas with a unique drainage design that showed everything outside. This is the second phase.
Okay.
So it's a combination, they are doing extensive renovations of the property, of the structure, and stormwater detention that's going to accommodate all that.
Right, yeah.
So,
And that will be in the upland review area. I was just wondering also, like, the stone planters that they have on the west side of the property, are those just like demarcation features?
I don't know, probably. Let's see, I don't know.
I mean, it's not critical, I was just curious. Also, I noticed on the western side of the property in the wetlands, a lot of times when we approve applications and we see invasives, we ask that invasives be removed, and they do have Phragmites growing there, and I'm wondering, is that something that we should ask them to take control of, because they spread. They're spread a lot. And also, it seems like the lawn, the manicured lawn, goes right to the wetlands, and should we ask that they put in a buffer, a wetland buffer? And that's all that I have. It's a beautiful property.
But no, right?
Yeah.
So I was out there yesterday. I saw some of the silt fences were kind of falling from, like, in a couple of the small areas. I'm sure you were out there after that and told them about that. And then they had the giant pile of soil, which it's there now. So I guess it would be, since this is a permit for the future, should that be identified now? Or should that be identified in the next project? I didn't see it identified in the...
Well, I mean, that's just literally stripped the topsoil that they're just stockpiling for now, so.
Yeah, but shouldn't that be on the maps? Like where
They
they're
wouldn't
keeping
identify
stuff?
the limits of the stockpile material, maybe a stockpile area, but they'll probably be utilizing that more. It's more important to have a good grading plan to see how they're utilizing it, if they are at all.
Okay, and then I thought that it would be helpful to have some, the wetlands demarcated more clearly. And then I saw kind of things on the, on the side, like stored kind of haphazardly. There's probably some opportunity, since they're doing so much construction, to not have the material stored in the wetlands. And that's it.
What kind of material?
It's just like
ladder and
siding
stuff. Yeah.
and wood and.
There was a ladder
I
there
took some
yesterday.
pictures of it, if you're interested, but. I mean, construction is messy, but, I mean, construction is messy, but it's, yeah.
Jim?
I don't have anything to add, Mr. Chairman, except that I do, this part of town does attract and has, I think, all the way down the, whatever that is, the west side, perhaps, Tokenique Road near Meadow is prone to Phragmites growth, so it's in their interests to correct it,
Yeah,
because it's just gonna keep coming in
Yeah.
the direction of their kitchen, so
yeah.
they'll, I'm sure, be happy to cooperate on that.
I'm good, other than a buffer for the lawn going down.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, I think everything's covered.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on. EPC 05-2024 Hanson Road, Town of Darien, Department of Public Works, replacement of Hanson Road Bridge over Stony Brook. To construct a replacement bridge, wing walls, channel enhancements, and other related activities in and approximate to the wetlands and watercourses and special flood hazard areas. The property lies along a reach of Hanson Road, generally bordered by Linda Lane to the east and Hummingbird Lane to the west. The properties nearest the project area include 410 Hollow Tree Ridge Road, at 88 Hanson and 100 Hanson Road. Acceptance. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, just to replace the existing Hanson Road Bridge, it's a town project that'll occur both in the town right away, on portions of the golf course, and also on two private properties. The current structure is in failure. The applicant's proposing, the town is proposing to install box culverts in lieu of the bridge, and will have to, as part of this review process, demonstrate, and it's in the river channel itself, They'll have to demonstrate, looking at drainage and hydraulic impacts in terms of flooding, because it's also in the flood hazard area, bank enhancements and channel enhancements, tree preservation to the extent feasible, logistics, but mostly it's looking at the impacts that are going to be potentially affecting both private owners and the commercial space next door. So there has been, plans have been in the works for some period of time. There has a professional engineer that will be making a presentation in the future. We are here again this evening, start the date of receipt. Make a determination of a public hearing is required. They are in fact affecting wetlands and water courses, and it is a public project. You may find that it would be in the public interest to have a public hearing.
So is it required to have a public?
You have to make that determination.
Oh, or it's our determination?
But it's a determination as to either public interest, significant impact, or you're not going to receive a petition, I don't believe, but certainly these types of projects fall within the realm of public interest. It's a public right of way.
Yeah.
I would think that since there's a lot of taxpayers involved with this, $2 million project, detours, 3 easements on different pieces of property, it sounds like definitely throw that out so that they can see it. I applaud that maybe they always do this, the Department of Public Works is actually bringing this to us. I mean, some agencies probably avoid it because it's an internal thing, so I think it's great that they are making us part of the process.
They have to.
Good.
Well, legally they have to. A couple of things. Are they going to do work? Because when I was there today, I saw flags up into what I believe to be Weaver property there.
It is.
So are they going to affect that? Are they going to go on to Weaver and
Yes.
dig up? Okay.
Those were, I think, the blue flags were, I think, possible easement limits.
Okay. Okay.
So
And the
there'll
same,
be
and the same
temporary-
thing for, I guess, the south side.
I'm afraid there'll be temporary easements and permanent
Yeah.
easements.
Mhm.
Temporary to construct, permanent to essentially maintain.
So that's going to be a golfing hazard when their golfers are out there. That's a-
Well, it doesn't necessarily, it could be.
It's a
Too
hard
bad,
hole.
sorry.
It's a hard hole anyway.
Yeah, the 16 is not hard. Plus it's a par 3, so you see people can really, look, can't you see?
15.
Bill, don't hit the person.
I don't go.
It's 15 for the record.
With 15, okay. You're right. And so, I have a question on this, on the south side, the opposite side of Weaver. There's a big tube in the water. Okay, when I look over the bridge, there's tube that's got to be,
It's, they're relocating that. I'm not sure if that's water or sewer, but they said they're relocating.
I didn't see one, I saw one on the north side.
Yeah, it's right
That is a
down.
corrugated plastic pipe that comes,
This is old, this looks like it's iron.
this is.
no,
on-
this is iron.
This is
It's all
gold.
rusted, I guess.
Yeah, I did not see one on the south side, but
I think their plans show they're doing something with it.
also part of the proposal is to relocate the water line. There's a water line, so
But
that's gonna be the, that has to,
And
There's a big pump house.
they'll be going under the
on
channel.
Which may serve that.
Okay, well anyway, just, I'm sort of curious as to what that is and the plans for it. Okay, so, all right, that's just me,
I think it might be remove and discard.
could be,
It says, I think it says on the plan, remove and discard.
okay, you could be right. Well,
So why don't we have a motion if you want to have a public hearing just in the
Okay.
public interest? And we can go from there because we'll be generating a pretty extensive list of information that we need to move forward with this.
Jim, you want to-
I'm happy to make that motion. Before I do, I'll just comment that, kind of to Bill's comment, or echoing some of what Bill says. They've had crews out there for a long time.
Yes.
There's probably been some, age-related breakdown on the existing culvert and bridge. And so it's orange cones and clearly assessing and evaluation of this project has been going on for a heck of a long time. I guess if I was the homeowner, is it 100? Couldn't wait for them to finish this, and get all that stuff out of there. But like Bill said, I commend the town. I think that probably the preparation they're doing here is first rate, and it's a necessary upgrade to an older piece of equipment. With that, I'll make the motion that the chairman has asked me for EPC number 05-2024, that we engage this application through a public hearing to be scheduled.
For the reason of public interest.
As it's certainly in the public interest, as we've heard in the comments.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody else have comments?
You know, one other thing that people might, there's all this interaction of fish being able to swim up, amphibians being able to swim up, so I'm assuming there won't be a lip of any sort as you come upstream, so that there's that pass-through of other
Well, you'll see,
wildlife.
I mean, you'll see
And
like
that's almost
across-
standard
the
today.
cross sections and things, and I think they've also, because of where the money comes, I think they have state permits and state input on this
That's true.
as well. And if you notice on
They're
the
getting a lot of money
plans,
from them.
they do things such as restoring the natural base material in the channel.
Right.
You see they have in there, I did notice they have fish resting stations,
I did not.
boulders in there, so that is very typical.
They're on
of-
top. Okay.
Fish resting station.
Yeah, very typical,
If you were a fish.
very typical state projects,
next
or
one.
state fisheries.
Because they're picking up, I thought I saw half the price.
Yeah, 50%,
At least the
right.
paper said that half the price coming from out of town.
Is that a coyote feeding station?
Yes, they eat fish while they're resting.
Right.
I actually wanted to understand how the plantings will work, because it seems like they're taking out a couple of trees. I'm not sure exactly how many.
I think 4.
Okay, just 4. And then it looks like maybe they're planting like 3 trees, but if it's just the map that is the planting plan, it's not really clear. And I guess I just want to understand how that works with these multiple owners, to be kind of like,
It's a town project.
okay,
So, and one of the things we're gonna be asking for is trees to stay, trees to remain, trees to be removed, and an enhanced planting plan. And stuff, it's a town project with any easements, and if it were approved, it would be implemented by the town of Darien.
so, because the grass goes right up to the water on the golf side, the golfing side, right? So there's definitely some opportunities to improve that on that side. The other side is a little messier, so
Right.
it would be interesting to see what's proposed on both sides.
I think that's an enhanced plan.
Yeah.
That we're stabilizing an embankment too.
Yeah.
A reshaped and stabilized embankment.
Yeah, because it looks like there's been a lot of erosion
But what
there.
does that look like? I mean, there's,
Well-
there's a lot of leaves and debris
Well, it's
there now.
grade. I mean, it's
Yeah.
through grading
Okay.
and wing walls, placement of wing walls,
Mhm.
and stabilization through grasses and plantings and placement of boulders and riprap in select areas. But a lot of time on the review will be on protections of water quality during the demolition process, dewatering,
Mhm.
how they're doing it, when they're doing it, ensuring that there's no rise in flood heights, and then implementation to make sure that there's going to be that the end product is really an environmental amenity. Could be a lot on logistics that we have to get answers to, where they're parking, where they're gonna construct. I think they're closing that section of road and will be utilizing that space, but you can install limitations on where, when, and what they can do in those spaces.
Yeah.
The only question I had, and I think Bill may have brought this up, is the existing structure is stone, and so it's like kind of, it's like stone, so there's a lot of resistance, I would think, from the water going through, and it looks like the new structure is going to be very smooth, so what effect will that have on the velocity of the water?
Well, that's what they look at. They have to not look at rise, but you're looking at the
Yeah.
dynamics of the flow.
Yeah, because it'll go faster because it's smoother.
Potentially, you're looking at rise, velocity, and if they increase velocity, say for instance, you took a a culvert that was this big and you made it this big.
Right,
And the
it was-
water will go through it.
Slow.
Or if you squeeze it, you'll get it faster. You'd have to look at, to see if there's any impacts on, in terms of velocity.
Right,
Is it affecting resources, is it affecting properties? How do you mitigate it?
yeah,
So that's all part of the
yeah.
review.
I mean, that's what I was interested in.
Okay, anybody else on this topic? Okay, let's get into old business, EPC 30-2023, 12 Stonewall Lane, B Shane, M Shane, to construct residential additions, drainage, and other related features proximate to wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the south side of Stonewall Lane, approximately 780 feet west of Brookside Road, and is identified as map 5, lot 9. The zone is R2, and it is approximately 2.03 acres. I believe the commission members have received the resolution on this, and does anybody have any questions or comments for Rick? No? Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
Yes, sir, I make a motion to approve EPC application number 30-2023 with respect to 12 Stonewall Lane.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Gordon? Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on, EPC 31-2023, 12 McLaren Road South, T. Mirror to construct an in-ground pool, patio, wall, drainage, and related features proximate to wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the east side of McLaren Drive South, approximately 180 feet south of McLaren Road, and is identified as map number 7, lot number 34. The zone is R1/2, and it is approximately 0.453 acres. I believe the commission members have received a draft of the resolution. Are there any questions and comments? No? No? May I have a motion, Jim?
Yes, sir. I make a motion to approve the application for EPC number 31-2023 with respect to 12 McLaren Road South.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item of business is EPC number 3412-2023, 12 Musket Lane, A. Gorodetsky and E. Gorodetsky, to construct a residential addition proximate to the wetlands and watercourses. The property lies along the north side of Musket Lane, approximately 450 feet east of Raymond Street, and is identified as map number 33. The lot is 5-6. The zone is R1/2, and it is approximately 0.532 acres.
Mr. Chairman, this application was accepted several months ago, and a request for information was presented to the applicant. The application is to construct a small residential addition off the rear plane of the dwelling. The property currently supports a single-family dwelling and all its attendant facilities, including a drive, patio space, yard space. The resources on the property include the setback area to a reach of 5 Mile River. There was extensive remapping of where the river is. It lies just off-site on a conservation property. There is a wetland fringe associated with the river. You draw back 50 feet to wetlands and 100 feet to the open body of water, and it just so happens that the addition will fall within our area subject to regulation. There's also a special flood hazard area on the property that has been mapped with the floodway and the limits of the floodplain. Again, the applicant's proposing to do this addition at the rear portion of the property. Their task had been to demonstrate the absence of drainage impacts on water quality, and other resources to ensure that it's sited in such a manner that it limits its direct impacts on the floodplain, the river, etc., and also to come up with a plan that will improve water quality, enhance the value of the regulated areas and property. The commission specifically requiring staff to solicit a planting plan to accomplish that, to displace some of the lawn, et cetera. The applicant has responded. They did a updated site development plan. Again, no direct wetland watercourses or floodplain encroachments are proposed. About 678 square feet of the upland review area is affected. That space is currently held as lawn or patio space. There's pretty substantial setbacks that remain to the river and the wetlands, of upwards of 70 to 80 feet. The project engineer has submitted a very brief analysis, drainage analysis, in demonstrating it's really a very de minimis amount of increase of impervious surface. But he did a quick calculation and demonstrate no adverse impact on drainage of adjoining properties, no need for mitigating drainage structures. The addition will simply drop down its gutters to the ground over splash pads and flow over a prolonged drainage pathway before getting to the river or the abutting property owners. The town's consultant engineer has reviewed the project and has verified the impact analysis and the design and how they treated it. In terms of water quality, they did a basic erosion control plan with perimeter silt fences, stabilized construction entrance, stabilized downspouts, etc. They have looked at alternatives through this process. Again, at the request, originally the plan had a rain garden and it had a more extensive regrading. They were able to demonstrate they didn't need it, so they removed it. And they removed the encroachment and the more direct impacts that you would get. They also have relocated some fences. All the work is outside of even the floodplain at this point. And that, again, that was all the result of the applicant embracing the idea of looking at the alternatives. Planting plan was provided, and along with a demarcation feature. And again, it's adding about 20 select plantings, conservation valued along the property boundary. The actual property boundary is not the edge of the river, it actually is lawn space, and they'll be doing a planting bed there, and then it drops down on the conservation property into the river and into the wetlands. So it's actually going to be a fine, maintenance-free area that's between the end of the property boundary and to the edge of
So who's the ownership of, that was the funky part, you know?
Land trust.
Yeah, it's a,
No.
No, the part that goes,
The fringe, isn't that the land trust?
well, that's
on
on
the other property is a land trust property.
the part that's
Their
parallel
property,
to the river, right there, it's all.
their
land.
property boundary ends pretty
right.
well off the river itself.
Land trust of Darien must have
So they've got the piece, I don't know, 30 feet from his property line right to the main river is now land trust?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And the last thing that is, the applicant was asked about basement, even though it was a fairly de minimis addition. The applicant has indicated that although they have not done test holes yet, they would be doing test holes and they'd be doing excavations, and if they determine that they need to do some kind of groundwater control, they would either come back with a groundwater control device. Again, it's a de minimis, rather de minimis addition that's on here, or they would forego the basement in that particular space. And they've actually put that in writing, and the applicant would, again, go with something that was less intrusive. With that, the applicant's representative is here if you have any questions for her, or behind you. And
Sure, please.
So you can just leave it here since you guys do have it.
Actually, there's a board right behind you, there's an easel. But
I was trying to get it closer.
I know, but most of us have it on our
Yep.
iPads,
Okay.
so.
Oh, so you're all set. Okay, there we go. Good evening. So I'm here to answer any questions that...
Excuse me, could you please identify yourself?
Sorry, yes. Arpita Michal, I'm the architect for the project, and I'll be answering any questions that you have, and I'm the applicant for the project as well.
Do you have anything to add to Rick's comments?
No, just one thing about the basement, because the river is over 10 feet lower than even the applicant's backyard. We did not think that there was going to be a problem when we started to dig for the basement. When the test holes were done, they were not done that deep to be able to ascertain if there's going to be problems with water. So we are hopeful that we won't hit into any problems, but if we do, then we'll deal with it at that point. Also, a LOMA has been filed for the property because we think that this property shows up on the flood map incorrectly, of course, with the elevations that it is on. So then that will also kind of take the property off of the floodplain conversation as well.
Okay.
Do you actually contact the land trust people on any, I mean, I don't know what the
So-
arrangement is on those, when you do something there, do they?
The only email that I sent was when we discussed that we had to remap the wetlands area, and it was in the land trust. I had sent an email, but I never got a response back. And then our wetlands consultant was able to get access to go and map it because it was an unusual request since we were going into the neighbor's property to map the wetlands, which may or may not be possible from our
Yeah.
wetlands consultant. So, but they were able to go in and map that, so I never had a communication with them.
And I don't know if you're going for FEMA, maybe they could get better identification of that strip, because when you look at the map, it looks like Land Trust opposite owns the piece to the west.
Mhm.
But that piece in front, it's kind of like hanging out there without any ID on it that I could see. I don't know, could you tell that was Land Trust right up front?
No, I did it.
The surveyor said it was land trust,
Yeah.
that's how we are going off of, yeah.
That's all. Just for future.
The idea is if they're maintaining on their property, that's what we're doing, the planting on their property,
Yeah.
that's gonna create the bed.
Yeah.
And as far as the wetland remapping,
Yeah.
which was a positive thing, is we're gonna correct the overall land use map, because the current mapping of the town map shows this property being extensively wetland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly it was not.
Pull it off, yeah. Okay, thanks.
You know, there's just periodically, applicants come to us and say, the property was mapped this, it is now that, and so we want the town map to be corrected.
Yeah.
And we as a commission have to approve those, and we typically do them in bulk, annually, every 2 years, something like that. So Rick is working on that.
Yeah, it'll probably be March, probably carry March or April.
So we'll get that, so thank
Do we
you.
do it during the course of a regular meeting? or
No,
is
you
that
have to have a special hearing. I mean,
What is interesting is that the previous owners had also got some surveys done, and I don't even know how old the surveys were, but even on that, it showed clearly that it shouldn't be in the floodplain, but nobody caught that till we started to work, and I was like, the elevation is 35, how is it, I mean, almost 40 actually on this property. How is it in the flood zone?
Well, we do know that the Good Wives changes courses, and so there's some interesting piece. There's a piece of property on the Norotan River that is actually in Darien, but it's on what we would call the Stanford side. I'm sure you're aware of that. And so down at Research Park, so stuff happens like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if at one point in time it was lower. So anyway, any other questions? Sure.
Yes. Rick, can you please read the stormwater facilities maintenance plan? Not tonight, obviously. And can you please make sure that it satisfies our requirements for maintenance?
well, we should not have one now, because there is no stormwater management.
Well, I'm reading,
It's the initial proposal came in, and it had a rain
At the
garden.
rain garden, yeah.
They have since removed that as an alternative.
so is there any drainage maintenance on the
No.
property? Okay,
Because there's no structures.
okay.
They determined they didn't have to install them, it's simple maintenance.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything for Arpita? No?
My only question was, I saw the lovely rain garden in the initial plans and mention of it in various reports, and I wondered what happened to it, but now Rick had explained that there was no need for it because it's such a de minimis increase in impervious surface, so.
An expense for the homeowner.
Yeah, yeah,
No
and,
maintenance.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
yeah, and so now it can just, flow across the lawn, and I like the native plantings that are being installed and the boulder demarcation. I think that's all going to make good sense.
Okay. Then the next step is you're gonna write
I'll write a resolution.
a resolution for the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you, Arpita.
Sounds
Appreciate
great.
it. Thank you.
And Caroline, you'll appreciate that the homeowners actually had already put some trees, which we didn't even account for in our planting plan.
I
We just
saw
added
some trees there.
Yeah.
They have like something wrapped around them.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So we just added more because we were like, let's just add more because it helps everyone, and
Yeah.
they were open to that. So.
Yeah, because they have that beautiful manicured lawn, which, we want to, if there's any nutrients put on that, we want to, we want to have a buffer there between the wetlands and
Right.
those nutrients, so.
They should contact the land trust and see if they can have them help pay for it.
The
I mean,
trees,
they're always trying to figure out how to demarcate.
Yeah.
the tag on them.
I like that. They like that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As former chair of the land trust, Jim, would you like to come
Well, I
on?
was, oh, I forgot about that.
He's
By the way,
chairman emeritus or something, but.
There was a change in the person who was the executive director, and she used to be incredibly responsive, so that you did not get a reply from
That may be why, yeah.
It's quite possible that it fell in that hole at that time,
Yeah.
because I
Right.
do know that there was a transfer, I kind of read
Yeah.
about that, and
Yeah.
so sometimes the email addresses,
Yeah.
and then because it wasn't important to me, I didn't make a phone call or a second email attached to them.
Well, if you need help, we can help you. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, no, but I like the idea of that, if there's a chance to work with the land trust to add more trees, we'll
Mhm.
investigate.
We like them too.
Good answer.
Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. All the commissioners should have received the January 3rd, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments?
The amendments have been made. So that
Okay, good.
was pointed out by Mr. Millard.
Okay.
Eligible to vote, Mr. Houston, Wright, Bain, and Rossi.
Okay.
I had a quick
Mhm.
question. In our last meeting, we had briefly discussed the consideration of a follow-up inspection and written report to evaluate progress on some of these projects. Did we think that there was anything that warranted that type of consideration in addition that we're kind of looking at now from this meeting? I know it was just kind of a new thought last meeting, but do we think any of these would be good candidates for that?
The ones we voted on? Or the new ones?
The new ones, yeah, the new ones.
Well, let's
Where
see
do
if
we
they
vote
come
on?
back in terms of the
I guess either,
restoration.
actually,
Well, you can't go back, for one
once the
thing.
resolution's done.
But those are the ones that we had discussions about on each of them, which one warranted.
Maybe the
Follow
public
up.
hearing, maybe the ones that we want a public hearing on, right?
I think it has to do with the scope of the work that you're doing. That's what the decision was, the scope of the work and the value of the mitigation. The one that was really brought to everyone's attention last month was, or a month or two ago, was Pembroke,
Right.
Yeah.
where they had extensive vine removal, extensive mitigation efforts in other invasives, and an enormous planting plan. And it was felt that it was significant enough that it warranted follow-up inspection. And then we had specific discussion on both McLaren and I also believe Stonewall, the necessity, because it was sort of de minimis and probably didn't warrant that extra commission. So the way it was left was case-by-case basis.
Yeah. So maybe just, if nothing else, to keep in mind as we read through these, if that's something we want to. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? No?
Defer to Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to,
He's not eligible to vote.
oh, I can't vote, but can I make a motion to approve? And perhaps you don't
All
want.
right, anyway, listen, we'll take care of this.
Let's move it.
Bill, listen, you've been upgraded.
That's right, I make a motion to approve the minutes. Want to second it?
Well, I can second that.
No, he can't vote either.
I know, I reviewed.
I'll second.
No, I-
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, all in favor? All in favor?
No, they can't vote.
Okay, so we got 4 here, so we're good.
4 minutes approved.
All right, approved.
Shall
Okay, can I trust you with having the meeting adjourned? To make a motion to
You
adjourn?
can actually.
All
He
right.
is here, so he can do
That's
it.
right, that's right.
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Chairman,
me.
I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, regularly scheduled meeting of the Environmental Protection Commission.
I will lovely second that.
All in favor? Thank you, Channel 79.